This segment of Delmarva Life is brought to you by Tunnelraysor.
Well, nobody necessarily wants to think about their death, let alone plan for it, but making sure your wishes are carried out in the end is really up to you.
Studies show that 64% of people over 60 say they have a plan on leaving an inheritance. Do you really have any idea where to start and what all is involved? Well, here to help us with estate planning is Christoph Clark Emmert, who is an associate attorney with Tunnelraysor. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. There's a lot of people, myself included, thinking, I don't have a whole lot to leave to anybody. Really, do I really need a will? And you really do need a plan in place, don't you?
You really do. The only way to guarantee that your wishes will be carried out once you're gone is to make a will while you're alive and document who you want to receive which of your assets and who you want to be in charge of that.
So what does an estate plan include exactly?
Typically when a client comes to my office, we do 3 documents for them. A last will and testament, which is known as a will, and that governs how your assets pass after you're gone. It also names an executor that is the person that will carry out your wishes and distribute the assets when you're gone. The second document we traditionally do is a power of attorney, which is statutory in most states now. I'm barred in Delaware, but it's a similar document in most states. That document enables an agent to act on your behalf in financial matters. So they can go to the bank, they can sign checks for you, they can act financially as you on your behalf.
When you can't?
When you can't. Well, actually you can choose. The durable piece means that it stays in effect once you're incapacitated, when you can't do it yourself. But in most states you can choose whether you want it to be effective immediately or when you become incapacitated and can't act for yourself. And depending on your age and your family situation or who you're naming, that's a decision for each individual to make. The third document that we usually do is a healthcare directive, and that's for medical decisions. As long as you're healthy and able to make your own decisions, you will. And that document comes into play when you can't make them anymore. Maybe if you're unconscious, you happen to be in a coma, or you can't communicate, then your agent would step in and make those decisions for you.
Well, I got to admit, as I was growing up, I always thought this is the kind of thing that older people need to take care of. It's not just older people, is it?
It's not just older people. All of us really need to have an estate plan in place, especially parents of young children. People a lot of times think that the law will provide, and many times it will, but it may not be what you want. So the only way to really have that plan in place that reflects your wishes for you, your family and your assets is to do all of these documents. It's especially important for parents of young children, minor children, to be able to name a guardian in their will if something happened to both of them, both parents.
And we're healthy now, but you really need to consider your future health, right?
Absolutely. It's very important to make these plans while you're healthy and while you can still make them. Oftentimes I have people come to my office when unfortunately dementia may be setting in and it's difficult for them to make the decisions, or frankly they may not have the capacity to do so anymore. So it's really important for young people as well as people who may be approaching middle age to sit down with an attorney, think about what their wishes are, and get it down on paper.
Okay, so let's say we got all this established. It's a done deal, everything's in place. Do we need to revisit it?
Absolutely. We recommend that you meet with an attorney or at least touch base with someone every few years because tax laws change. The laws change as well, so it's important to make sure that the laws still will reflect your wishes, and more importantly, that there haven't been any changes in your personal life, in your family situation that would need to be updated in your documents, whether you've been married or divorced recently, if you've had a new child or new grandchildren, if you've come into money, if you've received an inheritance, maybe won the lottery.
So Lisa wins the lottery?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's very important to revisit those documents. Maybe one of your agents that you named has passed. It's important to make sure that they're still in place and that they will be carried out when you're gone.
And like you mentioned, tax laws do change.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we got to ask this because I'm sure it happens all the time, but what happens if the family just can't agree? How binding is an estate plan?
Well, there's no guarantee that any child or grandchild is going to receive an inheritance. There's no right. There's no entitlement to an inheritance. The primary way that any of us can guarantee that our assets will pass the way that we want to and there won't be any disputes after our deaths is to make a will. There's always the chance that it could be questioned or challenged, but as long as your intent is there, your wishes will usually be carried out.
So you got a great start, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
Christophe Clark-Emmert, thank you so
My
much for
pleasure.
joining us from
Very good
Tunnelraysor.
information.
Excellent answers.
For more information on estate planning and Tunnelraysor, go to delmarvalife.com and click on the Show tab.